Welcome to the Backpacking Blisters podcast. With us today is the filmmaker who single-handedly popularized the thru hike in Utah with his awesome film called Highline. Chris Smead, how's it going, man?
Things are good. Glad to be part of the show.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on our show. Honor to have you as a co-host, for sure. For sure.
Looking forward to it.
So this episode is brought to you by Enlighten Equipment. And just check out the best ultralight quilts on the market that are made in Minnesota. Right now, they've got their new artist series with the Revelation quilt, taking their products to the next level. Enlighten Equipment. We love that company. All right, man. So it's been a while since you've been on our show. Yeah?
It's been a while. Yeah, been a couple of years at least, I think.
You were on our episode 100. And I think this is like number 310 right now, just to give you some context there. So it's been, yeah.
You've grown. It's cool to see how well you guys have done. You went from being, super tiny to getting big. So that's great. Congrats on that.
I think we've stayed super tiny, but we just keep on plugging away. So we'll take the compliment. All right. I had the honor of actually not only meeting you last year, but hiking with you for a little bit. So yeah, it's been a year, man. But yeah, we got a chance to hike together in Yosemite, right?
That was a lot of fun. Yes, we did. That was pretty incredible, actually. So
yeah. Last year, so Chris and I, we did a big kind of run hiking Yosemite, my buddy Rocky and I forget how this conversation happened, but Chris, since you have this filmmaking background, you volunteered to come for the first 10 miles and film it for us. And so so I don't know how you did this. You brought, I think, like 20 pounds worth of gear and try to not only keep pace with us for 20 miles, but film at the same time. And then when you're done, you're going to hike out the 10 miles. So 20-mile day and then drive home, right?
Yeah, that sounded so easy in my head. And honestly, it was kind of a humbling moment because, I've been backpacking for years, just like you guys. And I was like, no problem. I'll follow them for the first 10 miles and then hike out for another 10 miles and I'll be good. And then, man, the terrain there was really rough. And I got it was like, I think I ended up doing like 11 miles out and then 11 miles back or something.
Is that right?
Got back to the car and I was like exhausted and beat up. And then I got home, drove all the way home it was like 4-hour drive home, ordered dinner, ate a hamburger at home. And then I finished my dinner. And then I'm sitting there thinking like, they're still out there. Cause I did like a 20-mile section, right? Or I did 10, 11 miles out, 10, 11 miles back. And you guys did 50 miles. And I was definitely blown away by that, especially considering the terrain. So props to you for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Hey, props to you, man. Like at one point you were literally, as you're filming, you're like running circles around us. And so I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, the terrain was rough. It was kind of like primitive Yosemite because there was so much blowdown and just the trail conditions were terrible. There were I mean, like even later on in the trip, like just bridges were out. It was just like very wild out there. And so
it was actually, I don't know if you heard about this, but 2 people disappeared out there. They found them luckily, but I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, 2 people headed down that same trail and then were missing for like a little over 24 hours. And
really?
Yeah. Okay. So they were just day hikers and then they got lost. And I was thinking about following you on that trip and how, there's river crossings and then there is kind of, the trail does disappear at times. And I was like, oh man, are they ever going to be found? But luckily they were okay. So they're safe now.
Good.
It turned out well.
And then our buddies, 4 years ago, got lost on that trail as well. It was more kind of on the wraparound side, the back side of it. So we just did an episode on like the most dangerous trails. The deadliest trails like in the world. Maybe that should have made the list.
It should have.
It wasn't really deadly, but just definitely dangerous, I guess. So kind of funny.
Yeah, disappearing trail, tons of water crossings. I can't remember how many water crossings we had on that trip, but it was a lot.
There was a lot, yeah. I know because in the first 2 miles, I remember this boggy section. I was like, I don't want to get my feet wet. And sure enough, like we're sloshing, we're sinking. And I was so mad, not realizing that for the whole time, my feet were going to be wet because of how many crossings there were. So that's just how it was. But so your filmmaking was great. I'm currently working on that project right now. So that'll be out hopefully within the next month or so. But can you give us an update? So you've been on like a family backpacking trip recently. You've definitely gotten out. So what's been going on with you in the backpacking world?
Just fun recreational stuff. Not really any adventure filming going on, but I've done a ton of climbing trips. I'm into climbing these days, and I did just get back from a backpacking trip in July with my family. So it's kind of an annual thing. You know, it might every when my son every year for my son's birthday, we take him out backpacking, and we did the north rim of Yosemite this time, and it was great. Good weather. It was beautiful out, and yeah, we had a good time.
Okay. And how old's your son?
He just turned 11, and my daughter's
Okay.
9. But we've been doing this. I think this is our 3rd year doing it.
And
So
he's asking to go backpacking for his birthday.
yeah, he loves it. It's a good time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Both kids are really good at it. Actually, my daughter started when she was I think she was 7 when she started, or 6. She might have been
Yeah.
6 when she started, and
Okay.
she's actually like ahead of the pack. She's always in front of us, like no
Oh
problem
my
at all.
gosh.
Yeah, kids are tough.
I don't know how you did it, man. I've been trying to get my kids like backpacking, getting out there, camping, whatever. Like they've been doing it since they were babies, and they'll go, but they're not asking for it for their birthdays.
You
That's
got to motivate them
amazing.
with food. It's all about like
I know, dude.
marsh-
I know all the tricks. Yeah, marshmallows, candy.
Yes.
You make it 1 mile, here's some candy. Like whatever it takes. I
Yeah.
don't care.
It's funny
Yeah.
for us. It's like, you know, the outdoor experience and being in the wild and nature. And for kids, it's like
Right.
marshmallows, graham crackers, marshmallows, graham crackers,
I
fire.
know.
Like it's all about that kind
Oh
of
yeah.
stuff.
There, yeah, and I try, and we have all sorts of entertaining things we try to do, but yeah, hopefully we're kind of investing, and then it pays off as they get older and older. But you just mentioned you haven't done as much filmmaking. I mean, you were like, I mean, you splashed onto the scene in the backpacking filmmaking world, and then you've gone silent. Is there any hope that you're coming back?
Probably not. I mean, the adventure filmmaking world was a ton of fun, and I'm glad that I did it for, what was it, 5, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was great that the filming itself was fun. The creative part of it was fun. The industry itself is a little bit challenging. It's tough to make it financially, and then like there's a lot of like dishonesty that happens. Actually, we had 2
Okay.
distributors like just fold on us. Two major distributors that just said like, sorry, we're going to stop paying royalties. If you want your film back, you
Oh,
have to basically like threaten us through legal means. So like that happened to us twice, and it was like, and then I was starting another project, but it started getting expensive, and there was some drama there. So, anyways, this opportunity came up to start a normal full-time job again. I came from the tech industry, like I mentioned before, and yeah, so I'm back into that now, and things are going well.
okay.
And it really, yeah, it worked out really well. I'm really liking this new job a lot. It feels like more purposeful. It's for
Right.
it's for a children's hospital, so everything I do
Okay.
like ends up helping kids in the long run. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. And that's noble, and I like I already congratulated you on that. I think that's great. Is but early on when you were making films, what you were doing both basically. You were working, and then kind of like as a side project, you were making films. That movie Highline that you made, which is still available on Amazon, right?
yeah, it's on all sorts of platforms. It's on Amazon, like Google Play, Apple TV,
Okay.
all that stuff. Yeah, it's out there.
Okay. So I've talked to people recently, and I'll ask them like, "Hey, what are your bucket list trails?" You'd be surprised at how many people say Highline. And before
Yeah.
you made that movie, I had never heard of it, and I know my backpacking trails. And suddenly, this trail, this obscure trail in Utah, is on people's bucket lists. Had you not made that movie, this was not the case. Like you popularized a trail to the point where people like have to do this. Do you realize this?
I'm aware, yeah, and I think it's a good thing in a lot of ways. I know that some people are cursing me because of it, because this unknown trail is now starting to get some traffic. But in the end, I think it was a good thing. It's good to show people these places, right? These wild places are not just for people that know about them. I think it should be for everybody, as long as you're being
Right.
responsible. I mean, if you're going out there and trashing the place, that's a different story. You should not be there. But
Right.
in general, I think it's good for people to discover new places, and if they happen to do that because of one of my efforts, then why not?
Yeah. All I'm trying to say is like, whether it's now or a decade from now, yeah, anything that you create, I would definitely get behind. So
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
just keep us posted. Keep us posted. Okay.
You should do
All right. That's how this
backpacking
episode's about.
blisters. You should do
What's that?
backpacking. You should do a video out there. You should head out there and film something with Derek or something. That would be fun.
On the Highline?
Yeah. Why not? That
Wait,
could be
like
an episode.
Highline 2?
Yeah. The sequel.
Oh my gosh. We've had some projects we've been working on, and not Derek. I don't think Derek wants to go out for that long, if I'm being honest. But there's a trail it's called like the Collegiate Peaks Loop in here in Colorado, which is not very well traveled. It's part of the Colorado Trail, but it loops around. So it's like a significantly more convenient through hike. It's like 160 miles. I've been wanting to do that for years, but circumstances at home have prevented me. So I would say one day, but I don't know. It's like to do the trail, like how you did it, and a film is next level. That takes like 2 commitments, right? Because you're committing to be fit to carry the gear to actually make the miles, and then you're committing to have like a, you're multitasking while you're doing it. I think it's very challenging.
It was. It was work, but I can't say it really felt like work because I was out in nature. I mean, we did have to wake up. Gordy and I did have to wake up early before anybody else did, and make sure we were ready to capture video of people waking up. And then at the end of the day, when everybody went to bed, Gordy and I would be up shooting, Milky Way shots and stuff like that. But
yeah,
right. It was fun.
That's a lot. That's a lot to do.
It was a lot of work, but it was fun. You've carried camera stuff on trails before, right? So it's
not like you.
Yeah, a little crazy, but it's still fun, so it doesn't feel like work.
I guess it. Yeah, I don't know. I get like at the end of the day, I get tired. I just want to sit down by the campfire and eat some food. That's it. I don't want to be like, all right, what's on the agenda now that I've hiked, 10, 15 miles. So that's you have a different capacity for that stuff, I suppose. But all right, we got to get to it. So our Bible verse for the episode is Psalm 94:14. For the Lord will not forsake his people; he will not abandon his heritage. So the Lord will not reject us, but we're about to reject some serious backpacking gear, correct?
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay. I didn't know if you viewed it this way. And we're not trying to like necessarily reject companies or pick on gear or kind of out the companies. At least that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to share, like, there's some gear that I don't bring anymore. There's gear that I love that served a purpose, or maybe I thought it served a purpose and doesn't function quite as well. And now either I'm moving on from it, or I'm selling it, or I'm upgrading, or something along those lines. Like, how would you define your perspective on this?
Yeah, I would say, I don't want to pick on any certain company, but it's just things evolve. You gain experience and things change, and then one day you realize you don't need that thing anymore. So yeah.
Okay, I'm curious what's on your list. All right, so I want to say 4. What I got? 4 or 5 things. What do you get? How many you got?
At least 6, 7. I have 7 things.
Right,
we don't have to get to all of them.
Then. We might have some crossover, might not. All right, you go first, and then we'll go back and forth. What you got?
I'll start with the most controversial one, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this. Coffee. I don't bring coffee anymore.
What?
Right? I know it's like a religious part of everybody's day, and every morning I drink a lot of coffee when I'm at home, but on the trail it's like that's extra fuel you have to take. You have to pull out your stove. You have to do that whole thing, and I've been bringing caffeine gum. There's this military
caffeine gum.
I know it sounds horrible, but it's like
I've heard it. Run gum.
Oh, it's called Meg. It's the only stuff I found on Amazon, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what it stands for, MEG, but it's just caffeinated gum. And it's like I wake up, I'm dying, half asleep. I chew on that while I'm packing up my tent. And by the time my tent's packed up, I'm alert and ready to go.
You're ready to go. Okay.
Don't have to boil water. Don't have to do anything. I'm totally set. So it's way more efficient for me.
So that satisfying warm cup of coffee in the cold morning, you're okay not having that?
Yeah. Doesn't I don't miss it. Weird, right?
Okay. Yeah. I'm not a coffee guy, so for me, I don't care about coffee. But coffee is a major part of so many backpackers out there. I know that they're grinding their teeth at you right now. So,
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, this goes to like a bigger philosophical thing, I think, which is what do you do in the morning? Essentially, like, do you want to pull that stuff out? Do you want to have a slow process of getting your things together, or do you just want to get up and go? That's kind of the situation, right?
Yes. And for me, I just want to get up and go. I just got miles to do.
I'm
the
same way. I'm in my tent, and before I get out of my tent, my sleeping pad is deflated. It's rolled up. It's packaged. My sleeping bag is stored away. I'm grabbing things out of the pockets. I'm just getting out of my tent, and I'm efficient. So packing up is like 15 to 20 minutes. But some people they're okay with the hour and a half, and that's not your style, you're saying.
Definitely not my style. I mean, it's different if I'm camping. If I'm camping with my family, I'll bring coffee. I'll take my time getting out of bed. But especially if I'm solo backpacking, it's like I just want to be hiking. I don't want to be hanging around camp by myself. I'd rather just
Well,
get up
yeah.
and go.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is caffeine gum a good substitute for coffee? What do you guys think out there? That's my question. And is Amazon caffeine gum? Is it like Amazon Basics, like the name, like the no name brand, whatever gum, or is it actually like a real company?
It's I don't know. It says MEG on it. It's just Meg gum. It's the only thing I could find. It was the first thing I found. I just ordered it. I didn't really research
Okay.
it that well. It could be giving me cancer or something. So I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, do your own research before
Okay.
doing that.
I've heard of Run Gum, and Run Gum's a caffeinated gum. I mean, it can be for runners, it can be for whoever. But yeah, okay.
I'll try that.
That's a controversial
Okay.
one. It made me think of that old podcast, The First 40 Miles. They were like one of the first backpacking podcasts. Episode 1, they said, you don't need the coffee. And it was like their first episode out there, and there wasn't any competition for backpacking podcasts. They got a big following, and they got so much pushback out the gate. They're like, oh, I guess people do like coffee.
They do.
They do. All right.
Cool. All right, your turn
see,
now.
I'll start with one. I have complained over the years. I'll start strong too. I've complained over the years about water filters, and I keep on going back and forth. Like, I like this one. No, I like this one. And some of them have gotten better over the years, but I've just come to the conclusion that they're all terrible. Like, all of the water filters are terrible. And the main reason is because whatever they say, however long they last, like, oh, this will last you 1 million gallons. Like, it's not, it's a fraction, and it's a small fraction of whatever they say. Maybe technically they can last longer than I think. They just come out like in little dribbles and drops. But this whole, like, you can filter 3 liters a minute, it's not happening, folks. Like, it's just lies. Like, if I put faucet water through it the first time out, I'm not getting 3 liters a minute. And so I've been using the Sawyer squeeze for a while, and I just threw it away. Like, I threw it in the trash. And so I think the solution is simply to cycle through water filters and use what you're willing to put up with. And this sounds wasteful, but just swap them out more frequently so you're not frustrated with them. And so I used the Be Free last year, and I loved it. And then I only used it on a few trips, and then this year it's already just dribbling out. So I guess I got to replace it. So what do you think about that, Chris?
I totally agree with you on that for the most part. I mean, I wouldn't say they're all terrible, because a long time ago, remember those old pump deals where you had to sit there and it would, like, you'd pump water all day and it took forever. Like, those were the awful days for me. Now with the gravity fed stuff or the squeeze filters, I think it's amazing, and they're all pretty good. But that said, yeah, no, I agree. They don't last as long as they should. And I totally agree on your I'm even worse in terms of waste, because this is terrible to say, but like I throw away filters almost like after every trip. So if I do the JMT, that filter goes in the garbage when I'm done.
Well, that's a longer trip. That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Or even if I do a shorter trip with like my family, when I've got like 4 people using the same filter, like after that trip, I'll chuck it. I'll use like the cheap Sawyer minis just because they're cheaper, and then I'll chuck it afterwards. But they're getting more expensive these days, so I gotta rethink that. Yeah,
if you can replace the filter without having all the extra doodads to go with it, maybe you can find it cheaper. Some of those you can, some you can't. Just depends on which one it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But if you're using it, for your family, so you're using one for your family, you're using it as like a gravity, and so you can be patient with it. That's fine. We're actually going to review one of the filters coming up, but I don't really know what the best one is. I just know that I just feel like I'm constantly battling them. I'm trying to make them last longer than, and not even like that long, just like last a few trips, and they don't. So I've tried different strategies, but that's my thought. So, all right, what's your next one?
Next one. See, I got a big list here. Which one should I go with? I know. Yeah. Okay. Traditional base layers. That's another like controversial one. I don't bring base layers anymore.
Okay, so you're talking about like long underwear and stuff, or like what?
Yeah. So I used to always bring normal base layers, like, long sleeve top and bottom, and now like I don't do that anymore. It seems like the active layers have gotten so good at being breathable and wicking that you don't really need like the wicking abilities in a base layer. At least I don't. Like, so I'll wear a wool t-shirt, and that will be kind of a base layer, I guess. And that's the only base layer type thing that I bring. If I need warmth on top of that, or if I need wicking abilities, I'll just wear an active layer. Like, I don't know if you've tried that like the Mountain Hardwear Air Mesh, or like Alpha Direct stuff, like Senchi Designs. That new fabric innovation, finally somebody came out with a really good innovation in fabric. Like that stuff is amazing. It's it's really breathable and it's warm and it's crazy light. I think my Senchi hoodie is like 5 ounces or something,
Oh
and
yeah.
and really diverse in terms of its abilities. Like, it could be, if it's just a little bit cold out, you could wear it without a shell and it breathes well enough where it keeps you slightly warm but not too warm. And then if it gets cold, you put a wind shell on top of it, and then you're good.
Right.
So yeah, that's my thing. Base layer is no longer
Just
really
full
necessary.
disclosure though, you mainly backpack in the Sierras, correct?
Yes, for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly. I would say like 90% of my backpacking is in this year.
Okay, because what I bring to the Sierras is very different from what I bring elsewhere. Not, I should say what I don't bring, because we were in the Sierras this past summer. I did not bring like a puffy. I didn't bring a like a fleece or any other layers. I just brought like my shirt, my rain jacket. Those are my top two layers, and I didn't bring like rain pants. I feel like it's very warm there, and so that's I can get away with that. But if I go in the Rockies, I'm bringing more of that stuff. That being said, I'm not bringing the base layers though. So, are you seeing other people bringing base layers?
Yeah, it's like that was a pretty standard part of most people's kit. Like
Yeah.
everybody a backpack with always has base layers.
What
And
about like the? I don't know if this counts as base layers, but what about like the liner sock that goes under the wool sock or whatever you're using? Are people still doing that? You think?
they are, and in fact, I do intermittently. Like if I do a really long trip, like every time I do the JMT, I always bring like a thin liner sock and then my normal
Okay.
socks on top of that. And to be honest, I don't know if it's necessary. I could probably get rid of the liner sock, but I've always done it. I never get blisters. So I'm like, what if I don't bring that liner sock and then I get
Yeah.
blisters? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Got to be a risk taker. You just got to go
yeah,
for it. I'm gonna go crazy this trip and not bring a liner sock, folks.
yeah, that's that's brave.
um, I brought there's this new I think they're called Right Socks,
Hmm.
WRIGHT, and they
Yeah.
weave in the liner sock into the wool sock. And so I tried them out, and some people swear by them, so don't take my advice. But I was like, there is too much going on in the shoe there. It just feels like I'm stuffing my foot into this like stuffed animal in my shoe. So
Yeah,
wasn't for me.
I thought it was
Go
kind
ahead.
of weird that they mix those together. It kind of reminds me of like, that jar of peanut butter and jelly where the peanut butter and jelly are in the same jar. It feels like that to me. It's like they should be two different socks. They shouldn't be like all in one, you know?
Yeah.
But I
But
like
people
that
love them. Like they're successful, man. And you're
they
getting
are.
more. I mean, if you want to, it would be more expensive to buy the separate liner sock if you like those, plus the sock, so you get more bang for your buck. So I get the thought behind it.
Yeah.
But you're right. It
Makes
does
sense.
look like a mixed jar. um, okay, so no more base layers for Chris. All right, I've got one. This one is like I just decided this just within the month. Is I think I'm done with the like SOS beacons. Like I've got a Garmin
Hmm.
InReach, and I think that the cell phone technology is going to continue to get better. You can use your cell phone to send an SOS. If you're somebody who likes to get away but still text home and send all those messages and stuff, then I think there's still definitely a market for a reason for hanging on to that stuff. For me, getting away means not texting. Like I don't want to text. I want to be away. I don't even want to have this device. I like the adventure side of things. I like the risk side of things. I take it just to honor my family, to make sure that, at least I have a minimum layer of safety. But so we actually had a bunch of guys go in on it. And one of the guys was just like, you know what? I'm good. I'm not going to pay the subscription fee anymore, because I'm just going to use my phone if I have an emergency. And then because of the subscription fee, I feel like I'm just getting price gouged anyway. So I'm super happy to get rid of it. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I would agree with that one. I mean, for me, I used to bring a spot years ago and I kind of gave up on it. Well, I don't
Okay.
want to say gave up on it. I did it just to keep my family aware of where I was. And then I think now I would just ditch it entirely. But the thing is, like, since then, about 11 years ago, I had, I have 2 kids at home. So, like, my
Right.
reason for bringing a communicator into the backcountry is very different now. It's not to, like, say, hey, here I am, I'm safe. I bring a sat phone so that I can call home and check on my kids to make sure that, like, they're okay. So,
Okay.
yeah, I bring it for a totally different reason. But yeah, in terms of like just a beacon, like I don't see a point to it personally. I mean,
Okay.
for me, I'm sure I see how it would be very valuable for a lot of people, but I agree with you on that decision. Don't need it.
So you want to know if your kids are okay
Yeah.
while you're gone. You don't want for just the few days you get to go backpacking, just to shirk responsibility and say, you know what? Somebody else is in charge of my kids. I just want to be alone. Give me some time alone. That's not your thing.
I like being a parent right now, and I'm sure give me a couple years. You give me a couple years, and maybe I'll be like, no, I don't. I need a break. But as of right now, plus, I got pets at home. Like, what if my cat breaks its leg or something? I want to know about that right away. So I guess I could switch to like an inReach, as long as it's got two-way capabilities, and I can get that message saying, "Hey, come home, our cat broke his tail," or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so just to clarify, you would abandon a backpacking trip if your cat had an injury. Is that correct?
Yes.
We
That's
are
weird.
not on the same page on this.
That's weird when I say it out loud now, but I would.
If my kid had an injury, I would definitely abandon the trip, but not if my cat had an injury. So I'm not a cat guy though, but that's really funny. Okay.
I'm big into my pets.
Yeah, we have different takes on that. For me, I am responsible all the time. And so I need a mental break. And so having this leash attached to me is not the mental break that I've been looking for. And yeah, I don't know. Most of my backpacking trips, I have somebody from my family with me. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So the one that I get without them, I want the break. That's my theory there. All right, what's next on your list?
Let's see. Do you want a weird one, or do you want a? Actually, I think all the weird ones are mostly gone. How about Diamox? I don't bring Diamox anymore. Altitude meds.
Yeah.
Every time I went to elevation before, I used to always bring altitude meds. And mostly because I think the first time I went to elevation, I was afraid it was gonna be like Everest, and I was gonna go hypoxic and die or something. And then I just started I realized that I don't react well to Diamox, to altitude meds. Bad things happen, like really terrible things happen to me that I won't get into in detail.
Like throwing up?
No, the other side. We won't get into that. But anyways, it does not go well for me. So I forego Diamox, and I just kind of deal with the altitude. And I learned that like if I go from 0 to like 11,000 feet, I feel a little bit weird for a night, and then the next day I'm fine. And after that, I can go to like 12, 13, 14 without too much of an issue. So I don't necessarily recommend that for anybody else, depending on how you handle elevation. Everybody's different, but for me personally, I'm good.
Yeah. Some people, like you can have somebody who's super fit, like the fittest person in the world, who just doesn't handle elevation very well for whatever reason, just genetics. But typically, if you're well hydrated and you give yourself a day or two to acclimate, that's going to go a long way. Typically, not for everybody.
Yeah.
That being said, a year ago, I mean, we're hiking in Yosemite, and we crushed it. Like we were at, I think we started at 7,000 feet and must have gotten at least to 8 or 9, I would guess. Right?
Me personally, yeah, something like that. I wasn't really counting.
So yeah. Okay.
The tough part about that was we lost a bunch of elevation, and then we had to gain it back.
I know, you had to regain it for sure. So I can't speak to that. I don't take I mean, I live at 6,200 feet. So for me, ever since I moved here to Colorado, it's not been an issue. So I'll trust you on that one. But all right, next one I got. This one is it's not really gear, but it kind of goes with me on backpacking trips, or has. And this one I still sort of use, but I'm growing impatient. And that is the tablet drink mix, like the Noons. So you're thirsty, you're dehydrated, you put the tablet in the water, and then you got to wait 5 minutes for it to fizz and like, dissipate, essentially absorb into the water. If I'm thirsty and dehydrated, I want it now. I want my drink mix. I just want to pour it in, shake it up, and go. So the novelty of the fizzy thing is kind of worn off on me. That's my take.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think those little Noon tablets they kind of remind me of Alka-Seltzer. I don't know if you've had that. Yeah. I shouldn't say this because at one point they sponsored me, but we won't get into that. Anyways,
I still like them. I'm just impatient.
yeah. I'm not really patient enough. I'm more into the LMNT things lately. Have you had those? Mm-hmm. These little LMNT packets. You should get they sponsor everybody. You should reach out to them. But
they sponsor everybody. Yeah, the impossibly expensive electrolyte drink mix, but it works amazing. Like it works amazing.
It tastes really good if you're sweating a lot. If you're at home and you drink one, it's like, what am I drinking? Yeah. But when you've been sweating and you're backpacking, I think they're amazing.
Yeah, I've tried
personally.
to bring one per day for the backpacking trips and have it at the end of the day just to make sure that I'm hydrated. And they legit work for sure. So I'm with you. Okay. All right. What's next on your list?
Jet boil. I used to be a huge
What? What?
I used to be a huge advocate for jet boils. I brought one in every single trip for a long time. And then at some point I switched to a Soto Windmaster, these tiny
Yeah.
little stove things that came out, I don't know, years ago. And then a tiny little Evernew pot. I think it's like a 0.6 liter. It's now the form factor is a lot smaller and it seems to boil water just as good. It's lighter
No, no, not as good as jet boil.
for my use case, right? I mean, when I'm only boiling this much water, I think it's fine. And then
Okay.
even further, though, like many times I just don't bring a stove at all. I do the whole stoveless thing. I just bring like
Yeah.
salami and cheese for dinner, and that's good enough for me. So
That's
yeah,
terrible.
no more jet boil.
First
Sorry,
the
jet boil.
coffee, now cold dinners. Like what? Like where's the enjoyment,
Dude,
Chris?
it's actually awesome. You get into camp and you're like super tired and you're like, I don't want to cook dinner. So you just pull out your salami and cheese, put it into a burrito and you eat it. And it's like, it tastes amazing. Never gets old to me.
If you enjoy that, that's great. I when I get to camp, I want to, especially if it starts cooling off, like I want to make my hot meal. Then I want to sit in my chair and hold the meal in my hands to warm up my hands. I like that part of it. So yeah,
I could see that.
the cold meals. Just sharing a hot meal around camp is important for me, but I know it's not for everybody. That being said, it's for most people. Let's be honest. Most people like the hot meal. Come on.
I
So
like eating the hot meal, but like, I don't, if I'm tired, I don't want to cook the hot meal. Even if it's only boiling water, I'll be that lazy in camp. I'll be like, I don't want to move. I just want to eat.
boiling water is exhausting.
Yeah.
Not really.
You gotta watch it boil and stuff
Yeah.
and then pour it.
Right. There's two scenarios that I have for the jet boil that I use it for. And so if we're trying to be like weight efficient and we've got a large group, we got 6 or more people with one stove, the jet boil is where it's at. So I'll bring that, and that is way more efficient because everybody's getting their water fast, nobody's waiting, and you're basically splitting that weight amongst 6+ people. I think it's worth it. The other thing is my wife loves the jet boil. So even if it's just me and her, I'm just bringing the jet boil just because she appreciates it. And she's gotten to the point now where she's like, if she sees another stove, she's like, will that even work? Like, will that even boil water?
It works well. You know what we used to use it as? You could dual purpose it. It's not necessarily just a backpacking thing. We used to use it to heat up baby bottles. So like,
Oh,
so
interesting.
when my kids were babies, they're older now, but when they were babies, we'd go places and you
Right.
have to heat up the formula, right? So you
Yeah.
boil some water and then you put the bottle in there and it would heat it
fits.
up. You could be on the road, you could be anywhere, and then you warm up
That's
your
really
baby
good.
bottle that way. It worked really well, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a mom and dad hack right there. Use your backpacking gear to heat up baby bottles right there.
Yeah.
It's a bonus one from Chris.
Life hack.
Life hack. I've got, so Jetboil is actually, I think it's next year they're coming out with the new stuff. I'm really curious to see what that's gonna be all about. So maybe they'll have one similar to the soda, like you're saying.
Maybe.
Okay. I think I just got one more on my list. I don't know how popular these things are anymore, but I did see them when they came out a few years ago. I think they're called cells. They're made by Sea to Summit, and they're these really convenient water storage containers. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Okay, I don't recognize.
Sounds like not. Sounds like you don't.
No.
They're just like I think they stand upright. If you want to filter a bunch of water, put it in these cells. You can bring them to camp so you have access to water. When you're not using them, they pack down tight in your pack. So that way it's like, they don't weigh much. They pack tight in your pack. They don't take up a lot of space. It's just like a convenient way to store water at camp, especially if you're gonna have to carry water or you're gonna be camping away from water. So the functionality is smart. Here's the problem: is they cost $30 to $50 depending upon the size you're getting, and there's so many other things you can use instead. So getting back to that Sawyer squeeze water filter, the bags, they've been proven they don't work. Those things burst. But if you don't use it to squeeze through the filter, you should use the bags as like water storage bags. Those things will hold 1 or 2 liters, and they're super lightweight. They crunch down, and you probably have some laying around if you're a backpacker. And so I just wouldn't spend the 30 to 50 bucks. So yeah, that's one that I would not bring. I wouldn't, not just those specifically, but I wouldn't pay for water storage containers. I wouldn't pay money extra. You can find things even at like Popeyes, the fast food chain used to have these like containers you could get if you bought mass quantity. They would just give it to you for free, where you can just kind of like a screw top container, doesn't weigh anything, carries water. What do you think?
Totally agree with that. I'm a big fan of the whole multi-purpose thing. And if you have a container that all it does is carry extra water. I feel like, is that really helping?
Right.
I mean, granted, I carry. Actually, I guess this kind of bleeds into my next thing is I don't bring a hydration bladder anymore. But anyways, on this topic,
Okay.
I just bring 2 smart water bottles, and then for my extra water storage is like you were saying, I just use the water bladder that I used to squeeze water through my Sawyer filter, and I actually
Okay.
chucked the Sawyer ones, and I just use I use the Evernews. They seem to last a whole lot longer
Okay.
actually, and they still
All right.
mate well. They still screw well into the Sawyers. So yeah, that's
Gotcha.
my extra water, and I can carry up to 4 liters that way if I need
Yeah.
to. I don't like carrying 4 liters, but
No, you don't want
when
to
I
do
need
that
to, it's nice.
for sure. Okay. See, and so as a result, you don't bring your like hydration bladder, water
Yeah,
reservoir.
yeah, I guess that bleeds into my next one. Yeah, so hydration bladders
Okay.
I used to swear by, and I still use them for like multi-pitch climbing. So when you're
Uh-huh.
climbing, you're holding on with your hands. You can't really stop to like pull a water bottle out of your pack. So that's a different
Right.
story. But for backpacking, like I don't like cleaning out dealing with like cleaning out your water bladder afterwards, and then when it gets
Right.
super cold, your tube freezes. I've been on Mount Whitney before and had my tube freeze solid when I was super thirsty and I couldn't drink any of my
Yeah.
water. I had a couple liters of water and I couldn't drink it because it was rock solid. So that was kind of a bummer. So yeah,
Right.
so I ditched at least for backpacking, I ditched water bladders entirely, and I just bring smart water bottles. They work just fine.
Okay. Okay. I'm the same way. So I actually 100% agree. I stopped bringing it years ago. I like the convenience of it, but I don't like having to refill it. It's like flopping around as you're trying to pour water into it. It's just not very convenient. It just kind of gets in the way, digging it out of your pack to refill it. And then of course the bite valve, no matter how you do it, always seems to end up in the dirt at some point. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. It does.
So I'm with you on that one. Do you have any more on your list?
Yeah, a couple others. Fire
Okay.
starters. Like I stopped bringing those like within the first 5-10 backpacking trips I ever did. But yeah,
Like lint or like what? What do you got? Like,
anything. Yeah, I used to bring like little, used to be able to buy those little fire tinder things. I used to bring
yeah.
those and like stuff like that. And it's like, honestly, these days I very rarely have a fire. If I'm with my family,
Right.
my kids will want the fire for
Okay.
s'mores. But if I'm by myself or with friends, a lot of times we just don't even bother with a fire. So I don't
You could
consider it like a
bring
survival thing,
Have you considered bringing like some sort of like gender reveal device for gender reveal parties? That starts fires like that, and it'll get the force going immediately.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We should try that. If only somebody had done that before to try it out.
Twice. California's
Was
happened twice. Two major
twice.
fires from gender reveal parties. Yeah.
I'm so ashamed of my state.
Yeah. Well, okay. Fire starter. Okay. And then what else did you have?
Let's see. Last one on the list: sil nylon.
Okay.
Siliconized nylon. Remember when that was like the cool stuff? Like everything backpacking, everything ultralight was siliconized nylon, sil nylon. So like all the tents, like all the big Agnes tents and stuff were all sil nylon. It's like lightweight. It was waterproof. It was awesome. Stuff sacks, sil nylon. But like I think it's completely unnecessary these days. I mean, I get it is cheaper than paying for a Dyneema, right? I mean, paying for a DCF is like not cheap, but like it lasts basically just as long. So in my opinion, I never bring sil nylon anything anymore.
Okay.
Everything's carbon fiber. Sorry, DCF.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I'm not a fabric expert. I know some people go deep dive into the weeds on that stuff, and they'll buy based on that. And I'm not that much of a gear expert to do that, so I'll just defer to you on that one. How about that?
Sure.
All right. So what do we miss? What are things that you don't bring anymore? We didn't hit some of the cliche ones that we've talked about for years, like Nalgene bottles and footprints and stuff. These are some new things. I think I've harped on the GoPro before, but either way, yeah. What do we miss? Or is there something that you still bring that you feel like has a place in your backpack? So just let us know. Okay, so thanks for sharing your list. Are you up for some obsolete trivia?
Obsolete trivia. Sure. Yeah. Don't know what that means, but I'm up for it.
Well, we talked about obsolete things that are obsolete in our packs anymore. So now we have obsolete themed trivia.
Okay, sure.
All right, coming up right after this. The trail is calling your name. Are you ready? Are you really ready? Our good friend Roan from Summit Strength can get you trail ready. Roan uses rock-solid evidence to design a specialized training program just for you. There are plenty of cookie-cutter programs out there that will get you only halfway up the mountain. Make it to your adventure summit with Summit Strength. The link to your success is always in our episode description, but you can check out all the information you need at summitstrength.com.au/online. It's time to be strong and pain-free for your next adventure. All right, so Obsolete Trivia is brought to you by Teton. Teton is a company that we've recently partnered with, and right now they're giving you 10% off your next purchase if you sign up for their email list. No code necessary. It's just right on their website, which is linked in our show description. It's 10% off an already great price and all their amazing gear. Check it out at tetongear.com. Okay, so here's the deal. So in order to pass trivia, you got to get 2 out of 3 correct. So if you get 2 out of 3, Chris, I'm going to send you some kind of high quality caffeine gum. I got some Run gum coming your way. How do you feel about that?
Feel pretty darn excited about that.
I don't know if you do, but that's what's coming your way if you pass. Okay, if you get less than 2, what do you got for me?
I'm going to send you a freeze-dried meal from my stash. It'll be a cool one. I don't know which one, but it'll be cool.
What's your what? Okay, out of curiosity, what brand is your stash? Is it Mountain House?
I've got everything. No, I'm not really a Mountain House guy anymore. I feel like it's hard to digest. I've got tons of Packet Gourmet, and then
my God, that's the best stuff. That's the best stuff right there.
And then Peak Refuel. I've been into them lately.
Okay,
so it's good stuff.
You know what you're talking about. Okay, I'm now rooting for you to lose even more, knowing that you have the good stuff. Okay. But when I do these trivias, I always think like, okay, there's some that are kind of challenging. And then the guest hosters, they dominate. So we'll see. All right, here we go. Number 1. Oh, by the way, these are all multiple choice. Number 1, which water filter company is either no longer around or recently went out of business? A, Brita, B, Pure, C, Grail, or D, Life Straw?
Oh man, I have no idea. Pure?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
You don't sound very confident in this one.
Because I'm not. I'm guessing
Pure
right now.
is correct. Yeah, they're no longer around.
Cool.
They were bought out by Katadyn. Their filters, like the style filters, those pump filters you were referring to earlier, they're still around. They're just made by Katadyn now. So
okay.
And they're still not my favorite. But I will say though, they do go a lot faster than they used to back in the day. They go a lot faster. So all right. Number 2, which company has recently called it quits? Which of these companies? A, Eureka, B, Sierra Designs, C, Campmore, or D, Amazon?
I didn't know any of those called it quits. This is gonna be a shocker to me. Only one. Yeah. I mean, you Campmore.
Campmore is incorrect. I don't know how, but they're still around. It was actually Amazon. They're no longer around. Just kidding.
What?
No, it was Eureka.
I almost said Eureka. Oh, darn it. I almost said Eureka, and I was thinking, no, they're too pervasive in the whole like Walmart market, right? So I thought that they would be going strong, but I guess not. Oh, bummer.
It's connected to what you're talking about, strangely. Eureka is like the parent company is like Johnson Outdoors, which owns Jetboil. It's like Jetboil and Eureka. Like they would show up at the Outdoor Retailer show together, and then the Eureka side of things, they just like, we're done with this. And so they're just focusing on Jetboil. So kind of ironic there. All right, you got to get this one to pass.
Oh yeah,
got to get it.
Okay.
All right.
Pressure's on.
Obsolete trivia. This one's the hardest one too, FYI. Number 3, which obsolete TV show had the most episodes? The most episodes. Okay. And when I say that, like from the core TV show, A, Lost, B, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, C, Saved by the Bell, D, DuckTales.
Lost
had 121 episodes and was second place on the list. I'm sorry, Chris, you did not pass trivia. It was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at 148 episodes.
Real? I didn't realize that there was that many episodes. I thought there was only a couple seasons. Wow.
They went to college and only a couple seasons. That was like a major show, man.
It was really cool at the time. I still love it at the time, but that was a long time ago. So
it wasn't a long time ago. Saved by the Bell, I thought had more. It only had 86 episodes. I don't think that counted like the college years. And then DuckTales. Did you ever watch DuckTales? That cartoon?
Every episode. Yeah, I love DuckTales.
Yeah.
You know
it. You know it.
Yeah.
They had 100 episodes even. So there you go.
I lost.
All right.
I owe you a freeze-dried meal. I'll send it out to you.
I will happily accept. No pressure, no rush.
If you have any preference, let me know and I'll pick one for my stash.
Yeah, whatever you grab, man. Like I'm just thankful that you're willing to play along. Okay, so last segment we always save. Anytime we get guest hosts on, just our tidbits segment. Like we already mentioned that you can find your Highline documentary on various platforms, including Amazon. Where else can we find your other documentary, your social media, or anything else you want to share? This is your opportunity to share anything you got going on.
Yeah, so Highline's on, like you said, is on Amazon, Apple TV, all that stuff. And then I also have another documentary called The High Sierra Trail. It's a shorter one. It's like 43 minutes, I think it is.
It's good.
That's on Amazon, and then it's on Vimeo. I think that's it. I think that's all it's on right now. And then everything else is just kind of like on YouTube or whatever.
Okay.
So
what's your YouTube handle?
Outmersive. OUT. Yeah, Outmersive Films is the company.
Okay.
So
right.
If you go to outmersivefilms.com, everything is linked on there. You could find it.
Right. But your old company name, your old production company name was called Chris is Awesome.
Yes.
And I like that you brought that back for the title for those that are watching on YouTube. That's kind of the reference there. So
seems like a good idea.
I remember you told me, what was it? You're like, I'm trying to become professional. And one piece of advice I had was I can't have Chris is Awesome is my production company name. So they made me change it. Something like that, right?
It was easier when it was just me. I could keep it Chris is Awesome. But then like when other people started coming in the mix and it wasn't just me anymore, I was like, okay, we'll change the name, I guess.
Mix it up, yeah. Chris, man, so much fun to have on the show. We got to have you on more frequently because this is a joy and a pleasure for us. And like I said, thanks for playing out with trivia. We hope everybody enjoyed Chris's awesome list and my probably subpar list comparatively. But yeah, thanks, man.
All right, thank you. It's been fun.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, have an excellent week out there. God bless.